My name is David. I'm 52 years old, from Portland, Oregon. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 28 years of my life. Today, I want to share something deeply personal with you. 5 things I deeply regret teaching my children while we were part of the organization. This isn't easy for me to talk about, but I hope my story can help other parents avoid the mistakes I made. I became a witness when I was 19, shortly after I got married. My wife and I were searching for meaning, for truth, and the witnesses seemed to have all the answers. We were young, idealistic, and desperately wanted to believe we had found the one true religion. The certainty they offered was intoxicating after years of feeling lost and directionless. Within 2 years, I was baptized and serving as a ministerial servant. I threw myself completely into the organization, attending every meeting, participating in field service regularly, and studying for hours each week. When our first child, Sarah, was born, I was determined to raise her in the truth. I wanted to give her what I thought was the most precious gift possible: eternal life in paradise. Over the next few years, Michael and Rebecca joined our family. All 3 children were born into the organization, raised from infancy to believe that being a Jehovah's Witness was the only way to please God and survive Armageddon. I was so convinced I was doing right by them. I attended their baptisms with tears of joy, believing I had successfully guided them to salvation. But something was wrong. As the years passed, I began to notice the toll our beliefs were taking on my children. They seemed withdrawn, anxious, different from other kids their age. They struggled socially, academically, and emotionally in ways that troubled me, but I convinced myself these were just trials that would make them stronger in the faith. It wasn't until I began having serious doubts about the organization's teachings, doubts that eventually led to my departure 7 years ago, that I truly understood the damage I had caused. Looking back now, after years of therapy, research, and honest self-reflection, I can see how much harm I unknowingly inflicted on the 3 people I loved most in the world. 1. I regret teaching them that all outsiders were evil. This is perhaps my biggest regret. From the time my children could walk and talk, I taught them that anyone who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness was part of Satan's world. I told them that worldly people were dangerous, immoral, and would lead them away from Jehovah. The result? My children couldn't have sleepovers with school friends. They couldn't build meaningful relationships outside our small community. They lived in constant fear of the world around them. Sarah, my oldest, recently told me she spent her entire childhood feeling like she was surrounded by enemies. She couldn't trust her teachers, her classmates, or even kind neighbors who showed genuine care for our family. When I see parents doing this to their children today, I want to tell them, you're not protecting your kids, you're isolating them. You're teaching them to see potential friends as threats. The world isn't perfect, but it's not the evil place the organization makes it out to be. Some of the most loving, moral people I know have never stepped foot in a kingdom hall. 2. I regret forcing them to preach on Saturdays instead of being kids. Every Saturday morning, while their friends were sleeping in, playing sports, or just being children, my kids were dressed up in their meeting clothes, knocking on doors with book bags in hand. I remember the look in Michael's eyes, he was maybe 8 years old, when he begged me not to make him go door to door anymore. He said the other kids at school made fun of him when they saw him preaching in their neighborhoods. But I pushed forward. I told him this was what Jehovah wanted. I convinced myself that his discomfort was just Satan trying to weaken his faith. Now, as an adult, Michael has told me those Saturday mornings were some of the most miserable times of his childhood. He felt embarrassed, anxious, and resentful, not grateful to be spreading God's word. If you're a witness parent reading this, please listen to your children. If they're showing signs of distress about preaching, don't dismiss it as spiritual weakness. They're kids. They need time to play, to explore their interests, to just be children. The field service can wait. Their childhood can't be reclaimed. 3. I regret telling them higher education was useless. This one breaks my heart the most. All 3 of my children were bright, curious kids with so much potential. Sarah loved science and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Michael was fascinated by engineering. Rebecca had a gift for languages and wanted to travel the world. But I crushed those dreams. I told them college was a waste of time because the end was so close. I said higher education would fill their minds with worldly wisdom and pull them away from the truth. I convinced them that pioneering and working part-time jobs was more valuable than any degree. Today, at 32, Sarah works as a store clerk, struggling to make ends meet. She's brilliant, but she never got the education that could have unlocked her potential. Michael does construction work, honest work, but not what his heart desired. Rebecca never learned those languages, never traveled beyond our state borders until she left the organization. They're all trying to go back to school now, but it's so much harder as adults with responsibilities. I stole their opportunities because I believed the organization's anti-education message. Don't make the same mistake. Encourage your children's dreams. Education is not the enemy of faith. Ignorance is. 4. I regret teaching them to fear birthdays and Christmas. The isolation didn't end with avoiding worldly people. I taught my children to fear and reject the celebrations that could have brought them joy and connection with others. No birthday parties meant no invitations to their classmates' parties. No Christmas meant watching their friends exchange gifts while they sat empty-handed. Rebecca still talks about how left out she felt during December. She'd watch Christmas movies and feel a longing she couldn't express because I'd taught her that longing was wrong. She'd see other families celebrating birthdays with such happiness, and she'd come home asking why Jehovah didn't want children to be happy on the day they were born. I didn't have good answers then. I just repeated what the organization taught, that these celebrations had pagan origins and were displeasing to God. But watching my children miss out on innocent joy, on community traditions that brought families together, was heartbreaking. Now that we celebrate these occasions as a family, I see how much healing and happiness they bring. These celebrations don't have to be about paganism or materialism. They can be about love, gratitude, and bringing people together. I wish I had seen that sooner. 5. I regret making them believe they'd never grow old. Perhaps the most damaging thing I taught them was that the end of the system was imminent. I told them they'd never graduate high school in this old system. Then when they did graduate, I said they'd never need to worry about careers or retirement because Armageddon was just around the corner. This affected everything: their education choices, their career planning, their financial decisions, their relationships. They didn't develop long-term thinking because I taught them there was no long-term. Michael never learned to save money because what was the point? Sarah avoided serious relationships because she thought marriage and family planning were unnecessary in the last days. Now they're in their 30s, trying to catch up on decades of planning they never did. They're having to learn basic life skills, financial planning, career development, relationship building, that their peers learned years ago. I crippled their ability to prepare for the future because I was so convinced there wouldn't be one. The organization has been saying the end is near for over a century. Generation after generation has grown old and died waiting for Armageddon. Don't sacrifice your children's future for a promise that may never come to pass. Today, my relationship with my children is healing, but it's been a long, painful journey. It's taken years of honest conversations, countless apologies, and slowly rebuilding the trust one broke when they were too young to understand what was happening to them. They've shown me more grace and forgiveness than I probably deserve, but the effects of those early teachings still impact their lives every single day. Sarah is in therapy, working through the anxiety and social isolation that still plague her at 32. Michael struggles with feelings of inadequacy because he never got the education he wanted, and sometimes he gets angry, rightfully so, about the opportunities one denied him. Rebecca has the hardest time trusting her own judgment because I taught her from birth that questioning anything was dangerous. These aren't just childhood memories for them, they're ongoing battles they fight as adults. The guilt I carry is overwhelming some days. I look at old photos of them at assemblies, sitting quietly in their little suits and dresses, and I see what I couldn't see then: children who were afraid to be children. I robbed them of so much joy, so much curiosity, so much freedom to just exist without fear. But here's what I've learned: healing is possible, even when the damage runs deep. My children and I are building something new together. A relationship based on honesty instead of doctrine, on love instead of conditional acceptance. We celebrate birthdays now. We have Christmas mornings filled with laughter. We talk about their dreams for the future without fear of Armageddon interrupting their plans. If you're a Jehovah's Witness parent watching this, I'm not asking you to abandon your faith overnight. I understand how terrifying that thought must be. I've been where you are. But I am begging you to think critically about what you're teaching your children. Really think about it. Ask yourself the hard questions. Are these teachings helping them become confident, capable, loving adults? Or are they creating fear, isolation, and limitations that will follow them for decades? Your children deserve better than the narrow world I created for mine. They deserve the chance to explore their interests, to dream big dreams, to make mistakes and learn from them, to make their own informed choices about faith and life when they're old enough to do so. Don't let an organization's rules steal their childhood or limit their future like I did. Don't make them pay the price for your beliefs before they're old enough to choose those beliefs for themselves. The hardest part of leaving wasn't losing my community or my belief system, though that was devastating. It wasn't even facing the reality that everything I'd believed for nearly 3 decades might be wrong. The hardest part was looking my children in the eyes and admitting that I had hurt them in the name of protecting them. It was realizing that my good intentions had caused real damage to real people. The 3 people I loved more than life itself. Learn from my mistakes. Your children are counting on you to put their well-being first, even when that means questioning everything you've been taught. Even when it's scary. Even when it feels like betrayal. Their future happiness and mental health matter more than any organization's rules or expectations. If this story resonated with you, whether you're still in the organization, questioning your beliefs, or already on your journey out, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced similar struggles with your children? Are you a former witness dealing with the aftermath of these teachings? Or maybe you're still inside but starting to have doubts about what you're passing on to the next generation. This conversation matters. These stories matter. By sharing our experiences, we can help other families avoid the pain my children and I have endured. Don't suffer in silence. Your voice could be exactly what another parent needs to hear today.